The Safe Haven Pet Sanctuary's temporary permit to stay in St. Paul's United Methodist Church will be expiring at the end of October, and the city is working with them to find a permanent home after their roof collapsed back in June. Mary Piacenni joining us now in studio on how that hunt comes as Green Bay looks to expand zoning for animal boarding. Mary?
Chris, this is the current zoning for animal boarding and kennels in Green Bay, but it would also expand beyond commercial, light, and industrial business park areas into the orange, including downtown. And that's if the Green Bay Common Council approves a planning commission recommendation next month. Even though shelters are still not zoned for downtown Green Bay, Safe Haven still operated out of its Broadway location for 9 years. The sanctuary said on Facebook that it plans to open its temporary location at St. Paul's before their temporary permit expires. But WBAY has not heard back after multiple requests for direct comment. Green Bay zoning administrator John Leroy adds that the city's code changes for kennels and shelters builds off previous changes from 2023, and it also stems from some public feedback.
The city was looking at understanding that when it comes to dogs and cats, that people in general want to go ahead and see that more in their life. We haven't really had too many complaints about that. So there were some code changes that were brought forth to allow for an expansion.
The city says Safe Haven is looking at moving to potential locations on Dousman and North Broadway, as well as a former school that would require some formal rezoning. Chris?